Hey After Effects buddies, I wanted to take a look at creating this very cool tilt shift effect. Okay, you've got a kind of tilt shift lens look going on there. The people look kind of tiny because on a wide shot with a wide angle lens, we're not used to seeing that kind of shallow depth of field as we do with a kind of macro telephoto lens. So everything looks small. Alright, so how did we do this? I've got my original footage here. I'll drop this onto the new comp icon and I'm going to add to that a new solid. Okay, and I'll call this depth matte. And on this I'm going to find just a ramp effect. So this is a very simple gradient ramp depth map. I could create a more complex one where I kind of match up the sides of the buildings going from white to black, white being nearer, black being further away. Okay, but we'll just use a very simple one and this will work fine. Okay, so I'm going to turn that layer off, but it's there, okay, ready to drive the effect. So on here I'm going to go and find the effect called camera lens blur and drop that on the video layer. Okay, and I'll turn the blur radius really high. Okay, so you'll just get a really pronounced effect. And here I'm going to choose what's called the blur map. So I'm going to choose that depth matte. Okay, it's not having any effect, and that's because we've used an effect, the ramp effect on the depth map layer. So the effect needs to recognize the actual effect. So I'll swap that to effects and mask, and now it takes into account the effect we've put on the depth map layer. Okay. So now what I want to do is pick my focal distance. At what point on this shot is the camera focused? So you can move this about. You see, as I move it forward, it'll get closer. So let's move it to say 220. Let's try that. Okay, so that's kind of maybe back a little bit, maybe 200. Okay, that's nice. We've kind of got the people and the cars there in focus, everything else out of focus. And now I'm going to turn down the blur radius maybe to 40, just so it's not so extreme. Okay, so that's created very simply with just the simplest possible kind of depth matte, this kind of tilt shift effect. I'm going to add to that, make it a little kind of hyper real, the lumetri color effect on that bottom layer. And here I'm going to go use one of the creative looks. I quite like this one, and I'm going to really ramp up. Okay, so that's the Kodak 52. I'm going to really ramp up the saturation, maybe 150. Okay, it makes it kind of almost like a toy scene. And I'm going to vignette those corners. Okay, and now I've got this really kind of cool looking scene. So there you go, that's the camera lens blur. Great effect. Thanks for watching, buddies.